Well, many of you know that 9 days ago the race was over for my mom. She made her transition from this earthly realm into spirit. And I want to tell you all about my beliefs, my experience with this thing that we call transition and this whole idea of us being perfect as God created us already. That there really isn't any test being taken, that there really isn't any race or any competition or anything that you'll be judged for. There's no way to get into heaven if you're already there. And I'm going to tell you all about that. And I want you to hear it. But before I do that, I want to just thank you for all those who showed up at her wake and at the funeral and, included the Catholic tradition because she was Catholic. She made her transition on All Saints' Day. Carolyn thinks that that's exciting. And I think my mom thought it was exciting too. That's why she picked that day probably. Because she knew all those saints a lot better than I did. I didn't know any of them. St. Millie, that's the only one I knew, was my mom. So she truly was an angel on earth, and she really did teach me a lot about compassion, about inclusion. Before that word was popular, she practiced it all her life. And so I don't feel like I'm an ex-Catholic or anything like that. I don't have any grievances or any negative things to say about that path. All I can say is I've evolved. That I've taken the best of what they had to offer. You know, in 12-step meetings, they always say, take what you like and leave the rest. So that's what I did. And I think I did take a lot from it that was positive. But I think we've also evolved in spiritual understanding. And so we can put this new spiritual understanding into practice. And I had many, many long conversations or arguments with my mom. About these kind of things. Like, one of the things we used to argue about was I'd say, you're not a body. And she'd say, I am too a body. And so we'd argue about that sometimes. And there is no death. Well, there sure is. And I, and finally, like towards the last few years, and I can't wait to get to it. Like, come and get me. You know, she was so funny. And she prepared us well for her transition. Because she often would say, I just don't want to stick around here, much longer. She wanted to be reunited with her husband and all the relatives. And obviously, like most of her friends are already on the other side. So she was really excited, actually. She was really happy about making her transition. And she let us know how much we were loved right up to the last moments. She couldn't speak. She was sleeping most of the time in her bed, but she was squeezing my hand. And if I tried to get up, she wasn't going to let it go. And then when she saw Lily, she'd let go of my hand and reached to Lily. And she was communicating with us, even though it may have been really difficult for her. So I wanted to share a little bit about my mom with you before I share the more philosophical experience that I'm having. My thoughts about death. Here's my mom. At 89 years old, this was her 89th birthday party at the Kounameset in Falmouth with Lily and my brothers and myself. It was almost a year ago. She would have been 90 in January. I was already planning the party, but I'm not going to have a grievance about that. She's having a party on the other side. Okay, so here's about a year ago, getting ready for the birthday party. Is Lily cutting her hair. Look at that smile. Isn't that amazing? That's where I got it from. And so here's my mom when just before she met my dad, or maybe right after she met him. She was pretty young, still in her teens. And this is her at 4 years old. Still get the same smile. I had that doll, somebody said. Or that dress? Yeah, so this is us as a family. And Sue Carlson said I had to bring this picture. Can you guess which one I am? That's right, the little boy with the rabbit. The bunny rabbit on Easter morning. Of course, it's the Easter bunny. So I'm wondering, what is this all about? Here we are. And so here's me. Somebody's phone's ringing. I love to do this. Ah! I was going to tell him there's no death. The Son of God is free. He might have lost a gig for that, though. It's all perfect. So let's see. A few years later, that little guy. Now, what kind of profession do you think he was going to be going into there? Either an insurance salesman or a minister. And I'm not going to be selling insurance, let me tell you. So that's a little bit of our family history. We have lots and lots and lots of memories. We're so grateful for all of them. I just wanted to show you a little bit of the energy which brought me here to this point in time, right here, right now, with all of you. It was an amazing, incredibly loving person who taught me so much about how to forgive and include others. She taught me so much about what true success was. Like, she always encouraged me. She says, I know you can do anything. You're going to be great at it. But that's not the point. I want you to be happy. So if you're happy at it, you'll be much more successful. And you'll never work a day in your life. Right? You'll always have fun because what you're working at is fun for you. It's something not only that you enjoy, but you're fulfilling your purpose here. It feeds your soul. And you know, she was a nurse early on, but because she had epilepsy, she had to quit the nursing profession fairly young. And so her profession really was raising these three boys who had no direction, no, clear idea of what their purpose was. But we were allowed to discover it on our own. We were given the space and the room to discover the God within, whatever we believed and whatever way was right for us, the right and perfect way for us to discover ourselves and our purpose in life. She gave room for that to happen. And lo and behold, that is my purpose in life, to do the same thing for everyone I meet. For all of you and everyone I meet everywhere, is to give you the space to find the deeper truths of who you are, what your purpose is, and how to go about demonstrating that in the world. And together, we can help each other to do that. Because no one of us, no matter how much experience we have, has ever come to the end of that process. It's always a continuous journey of unfolding our spirit, our soul, the God within. I trust the God in you. I trust the God in you will show you the way. I trust the God in you will prosper you. I trust the God in you will give you creative ideas to express in your life your own divinity. I trust the God in you will give you relationships that work all the time. Now, isn't that an amazing idea? They work all the time. They feed your soul all the time. There's not a moment of the day that you are not prospered all the time. Now, what's blocking my awareness of that is that I think that there's an opposite to God, or an opposite to love, an opposite to truth. I think that there somehow are two things going on, and it's never, ever the case. There's only one power and one presence active in the universe and in my life. So I want to thank you all that came and did celebrate in the Catholic way. And I thank you for helping us celebrate in our way. It had to be you. Jack said, what was her favorite song? And I said, it had to be you. And can we make that happen with Jeff? Because I knew Jeff sang that kind of music. And so Jeff and Ori, Jeff's Ori's dad, by the way. So having those two do that, this family unit. And her mom used to sing at Unity also. So they are the Unity singers. The Unity family singers. Kind of like the Von Trapp family. So I wanted you to thank you for coming and celebrating that in that way. But most of all, I want to thank you for knowing the truth with me, because that's what really lifts me up. Knowing the truth that there is no death, that death is impossible, that death is nothing at all. That's why I like to call it a transition. Call it anything you want, but I try to eliminate the words death, die, dead, dying from my vocabulary. I just try to eliminate. I just want to substitute it with something that resonates with me, that's more true. She made her transition. She's free. She's happy. She's still with us. She's all around us. She's in spirit. This is amazing energy I feel when I say these things. When you say, oh, well, he died. He's dead. He's dying. We're all dying. No one's getting out of here alive. What the hell is that? Come on, guys, stop it. Don't talk like that. Don't tell yourself those lies. Come on, those are lies. There is no death. And I'm going to read a passage from A Course in Miracles for you. As soon as I find my glasses. It's from lesson 167. There is one life, and that I share with God. And you have to get past the male pronouns just for a moment. There is one life, and that I share with God. There are not different kinds of life, for life is like the truth. It does not have degrees. It is the one condition in which all that God created share. Like all his thoughts, it has no opposite. There is no death because what God created shares his life. There is no death because an opposite to God does not exist. There is no death because the Father and the Son are one. In this world, there appears to be a state that is life's opposite. You call it death. Yet we have learned that the idea of death takes many forms. It is the one idea that underlies all feelings that are not supremely happy. When I was a kid, when I was that little kid with the missing tooth, with the suit and tie on, I used to always wear this button that said, "Be happy." And I had a smiley face. And I wore that button until you couldn't see that smiley face anymore. And then I drew a smiley face on it with a magic marker. Because that's what I wanted to be, and I wanted everybody to be happy. Death is nothing more than any idea that's not supremely happy. It is the alarm to which you give response of any kind that is not perfect joy. All sorrow, all loss, anxiety, suffering, pain, even a little sigh of weariness, the slightest discomfort, or the merest frown, all acknowledge death and thus deny that you live. Be happy. Be joyful. Be supremely, incredibly joyful that the universe is yours. That God is love and only love. That there's one presence and one power active in the universe. And that it's available, not just available for all of us, it's what we are at our core. That we can demonstrate this love. It's not something that we get, it's something that we are. I was reading Myrtle Fillmore's book, How to Let God Help You. And toward the end of the book, she's talking about prosperity. And she says, prosperity doesn't come to you. You have to get that prosperity is coming through you. It's what you give to the world. It's not what you go out and get. You can accumulate as much as you want and not be prosperous. Prosperity is something that comes through you. It's the fullness of God's love in you. And when it comes through you and manifests through that perfect love out into the world, that's when you're prosperous, because you're seeing the manifestation of what's inside. You know, the Course in Miracles also says the world is nothing more than an outward representation of an inward condition. So what I am experiencing within myself, that's what I'm manifesting in the world. And that gives me great hope that our expression of love does not end when the body ends. The race can be over any time you choose. Why not today? Why not now allow the race to be over? Why not today accept that we all passed the test again and again and again? You are the innocent child of God. You are the innocence and beauty of the universe right here, right now. There's nothing really to prove to anyone. But there is everything to accept for yourself. Accept that wonderful identity in truth. So in the Bible, in Corinthians, now I'm going to tell you a story first, okay? So I had a great forgiveness opportunity Friday morning at my mom's funeral, 8 o'clock in the morning. That was the first thing I had to forgive. My mom's she was not an early riser. She didn't even show up. She sent the body, but she wasn't even there. She met us later for lunch. You could really feel her in the house. Yeah, and she was in the house, and Patricia and Sue came, and it was very wonderful. Patricia was going around healing my whole family. She was talking to everyone, and she was healing all the grievances we may have had. So my grievance was this. They called me up. First, I got a 5-minute eulogy, and that went well. I read Death is Nothing at All by Henry Scott Holland. And then there was a scripture that I was supposed to read, and when I got up there, I was like, where's that scripture? I couldn't find it. They had given me the wrong one. So, I didn't say, I said, yay! Yay! That's what I said. But the cool thing is, I started reading it, and I changed some of the words, and the priest didn't even notice. Because it was talking about judgment and sin and the fear of God. When I saw that, I was like, that's not the scripture I chose. So I changed the fear of God to the love of God and sin to mistake. And that's about it, God doesn't judge. So I just read it as best I could. And I was trying to translate on the fly. Yeah, I was trying my best. Also, I don't really understand the Catholic translation of the Bible. I'm more used to the King James Version, which tended to leave things in even though they didn't understand the mystical importance of it. So the King James, in the scripture that I wanted to read, is 1 Corinthians 15, 49 through 57. And a little bit of 2 Corinthians. So I'll start out with 1 Corinthians. It says, "Behold, I show you a mystery." That's the title of today's talk. I'm showing you this mystery. That we will not all sleep, that we shall be changed. In the moment, in the twinkling of an eye, at the last trump. Oh, wouldn't that be nice? For the trumpet shall sound, and the dead shall be raised incorruptible. We shall be changed. Well, the thing is that corruptible is like we have the duality. Like we have both sides going on. That's all corruption is. That you have good and bad, up and down, you have right and wrong, all of these things. But the incorruptible is there's one power and one presence. There's only one thing going on. God is love and only love. And so at that moment of realization, that's when we are literally changed. It's not really at the moment of transition. It's at the moment of decision. It's amazing. It said something before that. As we have borne the image of the earthly, we shall also bear the image of the heavenly. And I really believe that that's not only possible, but that is what I witness a lot of you doing already. Bear the image of the heavenly right here on earth, right now. I know you can do it, and that's your decision, or you probably wouldn't be listening to me in this type of message. You probably would be in a different kind of setting. So the next thing he says, which is really incredible, is this corruptible, this body must put on incorruption. I must be transformed. I must be changed. This mortal must put on immortality. And isn't that our prayer? We say, now erase my mortal limitations. So it's the Spirit that does it. And it's something that's happening inevitably in us because it's the evolution of consciousness. It's the evolution of mankind for the mortal to put on immortality. I know you just had that experience. It just goes through you. It's an amazing miracle. But this mortal will put on immortality. For when this corruptible shall have put on incorruption, and the mortal shall have put on immortality, then it will be brought to pass the saying that is written, death is swallowed up in victory. That's why I don't experience my mom as dying. I experience her as having the victory of immortality. Because she demonstrated to me while she was in the body, the corruptible body, really demonstrated to me the love, that immortal love. And I was able to see it. Even, I had all the concepts for years and years and years. I've studied this, and I was like a workshop junkie. I've been to every single type of spiritual practice and experience that you could possibly imagine. I traveled around the world. But when I got home, I really saw the simplicity of putting on immortality in my mom's eyes, sitting in her chair, welcoming us into her house, and just being there in the presence of love, filling up that room, that house, and this world with her love. And that's all it really takes. It's not a real fancy philosophy. It's just death is swallowed up in the idea that you are immortal, that you can achieve it, you can experience it right here and now. Oh, death, where is thy sting? It's not there. I don't feel it. Where is thy victory? There is no victory. I am immortal, and that's the victory that I feel. And dropping the body is not a prerequisite for this experience. Myrtle Fillmore really spoke to this quite a bit, that it was not necessary. Death was not a necessary thing. That you can be illuminated, and you must be. If you are here at all, you're in a process of illumination. You're in a process of the evolution of our consciousness. And that's something that we all share. An interesting thing about this is that your ego will perish, and it must. And so there's another scripture. I'm going to leave that up there for a second. But this other scripture is 2 Corinthians chapter 4. It says, though the outward man may perish, the inward man is renewed day by day. For this light affliction of the outward man, the ego perishing, which is but just for a moment, is working in us a far more exceeding and eternal weight of glory. While we look not to the things which are seen, but at the things which are not seen. For the things which are seen are temporal, but the things which are not seen are eternal. And I know this also speaks to the idea that although we are spiritual beings, we inhabit a body for a time. And there must be a purpose for this human experience, or we wouldn't have invented it. The mistake we make is thinking the body is our only experience. That's the one mistake we make, that this is the only experience. I can't know the mystery of the spiritual realm. No, I've come here to show you a mystery. That we won't continue to sleep. We shall all be changed. It's just a matter of evolution. It's just a matter of time and decision. When you decide to be changed, that's the day you're changed. And that's the day. Day by day, it says. It's working in us. Day by day, that eternal being, that eternal spirit is working in us. So don't make the mistake that you're only a body, inhabiting a body, that you really are spirit. The truth is that we never left heaven at all. It's not a place that you return to. It's a decision that we make. You know, the true nature of the human being is that we are inherently connected to all that is. That we've never been separated from our source or from each other. That's our inherent truth, the essence of our being. And true ascension, then, if you want to ascend back to the kingdom, right? True ascension is therefore awakening. It's awakening to the reality of heaven right here and now. We don't really travel someplace because reality, in reality, the idea of separate locations is meaningless. The ascension is simply the moment when heaven and earth cease to exist as separate states. That's the moment of ascension. Heaven is here now. There's no separate God being waiting to judge you. This is an old idea that we had, that at the end, we don't know, you know. It's not true. We do know. We're all inherently good, and we're all in heaven already, and we're going to wake up to that fact. Because all the other ideas about ourselves are going to fall away. There's nothing outside of you determining who and what you are or who or what your experience is. There's nothing outside of you determining that. Do you believe that? Can you really, just for a second, entertain the idea that you are fully in charge of your own destiny? You are fully in charge of your own life. You are fully in charge of whatever you experience. It's your decision. So there's no separate being judging whether you're worthy or not, whether you can enter into heaven. Let me tell you once again, you're already in heaven. You're there. That's where you exist. So I see the transition as the human being of one of consciousness. You become suddenly aware of your identity as spirit, and more importantly, of where you abide as spirit, that you're everywhere, that you can really have much more influence in your world than you think, because your spirit is in everyone. And so when we remember that, we will also remember what Jesus said to his disciples. He said, "In my Father's house are many mansions. I'm going to go and prepare a place for you. And then I'll come and I'll welcome you to myself, so that where I am, in my consciousness, there you will be also." Because it was obvious that we separated Jesus as he's in that kind of greater consciousness and we're not. And so he said, well, then it's essential then that I go away. You know, because you need to do this for yourself. And they said, where are you going? He says, you know the way. You'll get there. He says, no, we don't know the way. And he just sat them down and he says, look, greater things than I have done will you do, because I'm going away. Because you're not going to be able to idolize me as this, being that's so much greater than you. You're going to have to figure it out for yourself. You're going to have the same experience that I had. And those of you who are endeavoring to find out what those greater things are, you're in the right place. You are in the right place because you are beginning to experience yourself as spirit. You're beginning to experience people being healed through you. You're beginning to experience relationships that work all the time. You're beginning to experience prosperity that comes through you, not to you. You're beginning to experience the oneness of all beings, no matter what their personal philosophy is on earth or their personal path. You're beginning to feel like, wow, I can include you in with my experience. You are part of me. No matter what you think, feel, or who you love, or where you live, or the color of your skin, or how you vote, I don't care. You are part of me, and I love you deeply, more than I could ever say. I really want to join with you in the truth of who we are. And this is the healing of our minds. This is the healing that we came for, to have this experience that we truly are one, that we are one being, one self, one love in God forever. So the last thing I want to leave you with is that heaven on earth is a choice you make, not a place that you must find. So together, my friends, let's keep raising our consciousness. Let's keep holding open this opportunity for more and more and more people to make that decision, to discover the Christ within them, their eternal nature. Let's keep this open. Let's keep growing the opportunities for more and more people to experience heaven on earth right here, right now. Sound good? All right. Be blessed, my friends, and be a blessing.
You have been watching the message from our Sunday celebration service here at Unity on Cape Cod, providing a positive path for spiritual living. Please join us every Sunday morning at 10 a.m. at 147 Walton Ave, Hyannis, Mass. And visit us online at www.unityoncapecod.org.